Hi, this is Amy Irish Brown. I'm an MSU Extension Educator in the Grand Rapids area. My focus in my work is on pest management. So today I want to share with you a little bit about fire blight, since we're coming into a pretty extreme situation for fire blight here in the next several days, actually, and I don't want you to get behind in spray applications that are going to keep you out of trouble. So I want to go over what's available a bit on EnviroWeather in case you're unfamiliar with that. So I'm at the Sparta home station. I have the fruit page open and all the models for apple are showing. So I'm going to choose here the fire blight of apple blossoms. And this is a static chart that allows you to just see what's happened over time with the data from that weather station. So you can see that the EIP values were very low with very low temperatures the beginning of the week. Our average temperatures were in the 50s, and so the EIP was very slow to develop. Here we are today on Friday. At the last data point we have here is just before 5 p.m. And the EIP is around 60 for most things that have had bloom open for a few days now. And we didn't receive any rainfall yet at this time, although according to the station anyway, there was some light showers in some areas. So if you received rain, perhaps, and you had blocks that perhaps were really high risk, had active fire blight in them or a history of fire blight, you would need to cover up that open bloom for today, even though this population isn't over 100. The magic mark for EIP is over 100. However, in blocks that are higher risk, we like to say that's more like 60 or 70. But moving forward here into the next several days is where things get really quite scary. And we're going to have a majority of our bloom open and extremely warm temperatures, 80, mid 80s, and the nighttime temperatures are remaining quite high. That's giving us an average temperature starting on Sunday of over 70. You need average temperature over 60 to build bacteria. So you can see how these, what is called the EIP number, it's an estimate of infection potential. It's kind of correlates with the level of bacteria that might be in a bloom. So for tomorrow it's 125, for Sunday it's 160, for Monday it's 270, and it goes up pretty fast. The latest forecast from later today bumped up the temperatures for Wednesday and Thursday of next week, and these EIPs are up here at the maximum levels of 400, 406 I think is as high as it goes. We don't see that very often during bloom here in West Michigan, so this is definitely a situation that you need to stay on top of. So you can use the EnviroWeather Fire Blight Assist chart just to give you a quick view of what to do. There's also a model called the Fire Blight Interactive Predictor, and if you go up here to the top, and there's a drop-down menu where it says Model, you can quickly jump between different models, all the different insect models and disease models from that one station. You have to go back out to the beginning and find them all over again in case you didn't know that. So let's look at the fire blight predictive model. And it really is all the same data, but it allows you actually to have the ability to change things. But to do that, you click on Change Weather or Management Information. First of all, you should select your date of bloom. Most people had bloom open prior to the 19th, so you might want to change that. But you can change your weather or management information. And when you click on that, you get all these little drop-down menus that occur for past events and for future events. So basically your whole time of bloom you can change. You can change your temperatures. If you know you're warmer or cooler, you can change that. You can change rainfall. You get two choices for rainfall, or actually three: no rainfall, between 1/100 of an inch and 1/10 of an inch, and then over 1/10 of an inch. There is a little bit of variability between light rain and heavy rain in the severity of fire blight infection, so that's why you have those two choices. Did you have dew or fog? That's likely to be the case, maybe not so much fog, but definitely we're going to have heavy dew with the high humidity that's predicted for the weekend. You can also change, did you spray a bactericide? You can change it to a plus, or keep it, if you didn't spray, a minus. If you get hail or high winds, you can add trauma in as well, and it will start the trauma blight model. So you can manipulate things and see how that affects the numbers. This is fine for you to take a quick look at something and what might happen today or tomorrow. I use the actual Mary Blight model because this does not, if I leave this website, it does not remember what I put in. So if I go to the Mary Blight model, it does. And you can download it yourself if you just Google Mary Blight. And mine just comes up Mary Blight model because I probably Googled it recently, but Mary Blight model. And it's always the second choice. The first choice is EnviroWeather. The second choice is this Mary Blight at the NETA lab, a grape pathology lab at Virginia Tech. I'm not sure why it's grapes, but thank goodness they still are hosting it for us so we can get it. And that takes you here, and you can download Mary Blight. While you're downloading Mary Blight, be sure you download the manual as well. It's pretty simple to use, but it is a DOS-based kind of program, so it's a little bit clunky, and anything new sometimes requires a manual. And so you can click that and download that directly on your computer, which I already have. So let's see, Mary Blight right here. So for you, you would start a new season because you don't have, if you're new to this, you don't have any data in yet. But I have a couple of stations of data in here already, so I'm going to open an existing season. It knows where I saved it, so it takes me there. So this is Sparta for 2020. I apologize, it always makes that beeping noise. And this is all the data that I've put in so far. You have to start it at first green. The reason that's important is because it's also tracking canker blight symptoms over here in this column. So the model will not start unless you put the term AG in for first green. If you click on the phenology boxes and look down here on this bottom help line, it tells you what the different stages are. You don't have to do dormant and silvertip. The important thing to actually start the model is AG, or it means first green. And so I have all the data in here for all the past, and it does help me with canker blight symptoms, which is actually a pretty on-target model. But let's just look at the last couple days in the future. So here we are on the 22nd of May. I have bloom in, I have the average temperature. This is right from EnviroWeather. I just go grab it from there and cut and paste it into here. I have no rainfall in. And we're seeing very similar numbers that we saw there on the fire blight predictor model, although my temperature, or my EIP for the days in the future, isn't getting quite as high for some reason. But it is very similar. And the EnviroWeather model is based exactly on the Mary Blight model, so they should look very similar. So if I want to add data or change things, say I want to play around with when I put sprays in, or did it rain or did it not rain, that's what I like this Mary Blight model for. So I go up here to add or modify data, and I kind of get the little grid here. And so today is the 22nd. I'm taking my chances that it's not going to rain until tomorrow. I have that in here already, 1/100th of an inch. That's why this is all red, because there's rain. The only reason the 27th and 28th aren't all red is because I don't have rain yet in for those days. So I'm going to spray tomorrow. So I come here to the 23rd, follow it across, and this column right here is spray. And when you click on it, again, down here at the bottom left, it shows you what your choices are. You can either backspace, because I don't, to say forget it, or you can put a Y in for yes, and I think it's going to make a noise again. Oh, it didn't. And then you enter it until that, if you enter and the line turns completely red, you need to keep entering until it goes to the next date. So when I did that, what it did here was take this EIP value down to 0. It's assuming that the bactericide you're using is a good one and it's wiping out the population. And so it reduces that population down to 0. And in turn, it reduced my infection risk down to just a high risk. It's still a high risk because we're in such warm conditions. that bacteria starts to build quickly the next day because these temperatures are still, the average temperature is still well over 60. If it's over 65, that means it's a very high risk. So if it doesn't get as warm as they say, this will change too. So if I read this correctly, I'm again, if it rains again as predicted on the 24th, I'm probably okay for the 2 days forward if I have a good bactericide. But by the time I get to Monday, the 25th, I'm back up here in a high risk again. So I think I better spray again on the 25th. I put yes in. And as I said before, when the line is all pink, it means it hasn't been entered. You got to get the line to turn white again. So you see it takes my risk back down to a high again. But because I have rain in here for the next day, the 26th, that's still showing that potentially I could still have a infection risk, because look how quickly the bacteria goes from 0 to 145 again. And that's because this temperature, average temperature, 76, 86 for high, warm nights. And we know from George Sundin's recent work that nighttime is when bacteria really catches speed and does a lot of doubling. So I guess my point with this is to show you that you might have to spray, or hear me telling you in emails that I'll be sending out, that you might have to spray every other day, or sometimes back to back. I know you don't want to hear that on a holiday weekend, but the situation is calling for us to be very proactive and protective for fire blight. If I put a bactericide in today, on the 27th, every other day, it doesn't change anything to the previous day. So Mary Blight doesn't really know about back action and that type of thing. So again, you use your gut to tell you what to do, but there's a risk for potentially having to spray several days in a row. So I'm going to take this back out of here. Enter. And that bacteria jumps right back up again. So the other thing I can do is, let's say I spray on Saturday, it rains Sunday, but let's say it doesn't rain on Monday. I'm going to change that to 0. I'm going to take this out of here as well. I didn't spray. So I spray on Saturday. It rained a little bit Saturday night. It rained a little bit Sunday. I'm good for Monday, but I'm back up over to an infection on Tuesday because it rained. But see, the EIP is still quite high, how quickly it goes back up over 100, over 200, because, again, of these very high temperatures. So whether we get rain or not rain is going to make the big difference on how tightly you're going to have to potentially come back with spray applications. If you do use Mary Blight, when you've made all your changes, you go up here to accept changes so that you don't lose your data. It will ask you if you try to back out of it, do you want to save your changes? I always say yes, but I like this better because it remembers what you put in. So if I come back tomorrow and look at it, I can add in more future dates or more future temperatures. I also remember if you sprayed or not. So I just wanted to share that with you. If some of you have questions, and I wanted to try to expound upon you how important it is over the next several days to make sure you have good coverage for bactericides. And it's not time to be using wimpy bactericides. It's time for us to bring out the big guns if we can. So what I did there was I took out my sprays and put on a little rain every day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and it calls for 4 solid days of infection. And it'll be 5 or 6 days if we continue to get rain as they're predicting. So please stay on top of things so we don't end up with a major situation here with blossom blight. And always, if you have any questions or concerns, you can reach out to me. My email, most of you probably have, is irisha@msu.edu, and I will post that here at the end of this video. Thank you.